Welcome back for another episode of the Sports Playbook. If you're new here, welcome. If you're a returning listener, thank you for your support. I'm going to give you a rundown of what's been happening in the world of sport over the last 7 days. You're joined by your host, D-Moz. In today's show, we'll be talking about the key stories in cricket, netball, NRL and football. We will dive into the world of motorsport in the Burning Rubber Breakdown, provide a fast fact for your pub chat, and some sport I'm looking forward to this weekend. With that, let's get right into it. In cricket, Will Pucovski announces his retirement from all forms of cricket. The one-time Test player revealed his decision early on Tuesday morning. He made one appearance in the Australian Test cricket team. This was against India in 2021 at the Sydney Test at the SCG. He made a promising 62 in this match, and he looks like a future star for the Australian cricket team. But unfortunately, due to many concussions that he unfortunately suffered, he has had to call time on his cricket career. Last year, a medical panel recommended to the now 27-year-old that he should retire from all forms of cricket. I think everyone can wish Will the best of luck for whatever he pursues next in his life. In netball, the New South Wales Swifts lead the competition after an impressive round one display. The Swifts went up against the West Coast Fever in Perth, with many predicting the Fever to have a strong start to this season. The Swifts, though, came out and attacked from the get-go, winning the match 67-49 in front of a stunned Perth crowd. New South Wales Swifts new recruit and debutant Grace Nweke put the competition on notice with an impressive display in her Swifts debut, 51 of 57 goals. In the remaining fixtures, the Thunderbirds defeated the Vixens in the 2024 Grand Final rematch, 66-53. Liz Watson celebrated her 150th National Netball game, and the Sunshine Coast Lightning won against the Melbourne Mavericks, 69-59. The Firebirds started their 2025 campaign off to a victory, defeating the Giants 62-57. This is something that the Firebirds have needed, as they have had a lot of negative press surrounding their 2024 campaign. In the NRL, the Rabbitohs beat the Roosters in their grudge match. Sandon Smith, the number 6 for the Sydney Roosters, opened up the scoring early in the first half. But in the 64th minute, Jai Gray, the Rabbitohs fullback, scored under the posts, levelling the scores 14-all. In the 70th minute, in his first match back in 2025, Latrell Mitchell threw a cutout pass, going past 3 Roosters defenders, going over 20 metres, and putting his winger Isaiah Tass over in the corner. Latrell Mitchell also kicked an amazing conversion from the sideline to give the Rabbitohs the win, 20-14. The win for the Bunnies pushes them up into 5th place. However, for the Roosters, they are struggling, down in 16th place, only one position ahead of the Eels at the bottom of the competition. Also in rugby league, the Bulldogs remain undefeated in 2025. The Bulldogs went on to defeat the Newcastle Knights 20-0. Still without some of their stars, the Bulldogs put on a strong display. They sit on top of the ladder, and this round they get the bye, so a guaranteed 2 points. In football, the Matildas clean sweep a 2-match series against South Korea. On a Friday night in Sydney, the Matildas got the win that they truly needed over South Korea, winning 1-0. In front of a 37,000 strong crowd, Emily Van Ingbon in the second half got the goal thanks to some assistance from the South Korean defence. Caitlin Ford also came off second best in a nasty incident against a defender from South Korea. Her face went straight into the back of the South Korean defender, and her nose had blood everywhere. It even gave off some Sebastian vibes from She's the Man. Those that know will get that reference. If you don't, do yourself a favour and have a look at She's the Man. Mary Fowler came onto the field with about 20 minutes to go. and had an immediate impact, almost scoring the Matildas' second goal. Tegan Micah came up with a crucial save in the 85th minute to stop the equaliser from South Korea. The Matildas were without a lot of their stars for this matchup. Ellie Carpenter, Hayley Rasso, Katrina Gorry, Mackenzie Arnold and Sam Kerr were all missing from this series. On Monday night, at Newcastle, in front of another strong crowd, 28,000 people, the Matildas proved far too strong. In the 43rd minute, Mary Fowler, our Hail Mary, scored a beautiful goal in the box, splitting two defenders from South Korea. In the 62nd minute, in rather a pinball-like passage of play, the Matildas went up 2-0 through Caitlin Torpey with the assistance of a South Korean defender. South Korea almost reduced the margin in the 85th minute, but they were called for an offside. Also in football, the Matildas are closing in on a new permanent full-time coach. The Matildas have been without a permanent head coach since August of 2024, when Tony Gustafsson left the role. But a new contender has come forward. It's decorated club coach Joe Montemero. Joe is an Australian coach. He is the head coach of the Lyon women's team currently, based in France. Ellie Carpenter is also part of the Lyon women's team. Joe is a decorated coach. He has coached at the Melbourne Victory, Melbourne City, Juventus women's team, and Arsenal women's team. Tom Simoni, who's currently the interim Matildas head coach, has backed the potential contender for the role, mentioning that Joe has great credentials. Steph Catley was interviewed post-match on Monday and admitted that the Matildas are in the early stages of a rebuild, and the playing group feel a little bit in limbo without their new head coach. It's one for the Matildas that they need to sort out sooner rather than later, as they will be hosting the 2026 Asian Cup from March 2026. And with that, we will take a short break and after get into the week that was in motorsport with the Burning Rubber Breakdown. It's time for your Burning Rubber Breakdown. Let's burn it up. In Formula 1, Max Verstappen wins the Japanese Grand Prix. I have to say though, the race was rather pedestrian-like though. On lap 1, there was no incidents throughout the field. It was the first Grand Prix of the year without any retirements, so all 20 cars finished the race. Qualifying proved crucial for this Grand Prix, as cars got within the DRS range, which is within 1 second of the car in front. The cars behind started to lose the grip. It didn't have the confidence in the car to chase and try and make that overtake. And probably the most exciting part of this Grand Prix, on lap 22, Verstappen and Norris, who were P1 and P2 at the time, pitted for new tyres. McLaren gained a 1 second advantage on Red Bull, so Norris, trying to capitalise, tried to go side by side with Verstappen in the pit lane, only for them to return onto the racetrack, Norris going wide onto the grass. For Verstappen, he made no error here and there was no penalty. For Norris, it was probably where cool heads should have prevailed in this situation. For those that don't know, the person who is first in the fast lane gets right of way. So for Verstappen, he had the right of way and Norris had to fall in behind. By the end of the Grand Prix, Verstappen, Norris and Piastri, who were P1, 2 and 3, were separated by only 1.7 seconds. Even Piastri commented post-race, "Is that all that happened?" whilst they were watching the race highlights in the cool-down room. But Max Verstappen held on for his 4th Japanese Grand Prix victory in a row. The McLaren team orders will be one to watch though, as this was definitely playing out through this Grand Prix. Norris now leads the championship by 1 point over Verstappen, and Piastri is behind in 3rd place. Carlos Sainz fined for making a pit stop, but not the kind that you think, Carlos received a heavy fine from the FIA after being late for the national anthem. Carlos was suffering from a stomach bug and prior to the Grand Prix had to make a trip to the bathroom. This was signed off by a doctor that confirmed that Carlos was suffering a stomach bug. However, the FIA didn't care for it. The fine was £20,000, which was the equivalent of 36,000 Australian dollars. Yikes, what an expensive trip to the bathroom. In supercars, Team 18 are expected to be the new homologation team for General Motors. In the latest twist since Triple Eight defected to Ford, Team 18 is expected to become the new homologation partner for General Motors in 2026. This will now affect who becomes the second Toyota team in 2026, as Team 18's owner, Charlie Schwerkolt's primary business is Toyota forklifts, so there was a natural homologation there. No pun intended. But it looks like the second team will actually go to Brad Jones Racing. We're unsure what this means for the 2026 grid, as Brad Jones Racing currently has 4 cars in the championship. So will they bring 4 cars to 2026? Will they reduce this down to 2 cars? We'll have to wait and see what happens. That is your burning rubber breakdown for the week. And now it's time for your fast fact for a pub chat. It's time to pull yourself a chair, pour yourself a drink. It is time for your fast fact for a pub chat. This week's fast fact, we're going for a football theme, and in particular, the Matildas. Did you know that before 1995, the team was known as the Female Socceroos? But they needed a nickname, so a group was put together to brainstorm some ideas of potential nicknames for the Australian women's football team. So the 5 names that they came up with that the public had to vote on were the Socceroos, the Waratahs, the Lorikeets, Blue Flies, which sounds like something from Stranger Things, or the Matildas. Viewers had the opportunity to vote by phone, and we now know them as the Matildas. Thank goodness we didn't go with the Lorikeets or the Socceroos, that just sounds horrendous. That is your fast fact for a pub chat, and here are 3 sports I'm looking forward to watching this weekend. In AFL, Gather Round is back in Adelaide. From the 10th to the 13th of April, all clubs will descend upon South Australia. Some games to look out for here is Collingwood against the Sydney Swans on Friday the 11th of April at the Adelaide Oval. And St Kilda will be playing GWS Giants on Sunday the 13th of April. There is even a game in the Barossa. It's not a bad location for a wine and a kick to kick. In Formula 1, the Bahrain Grand Prix is on. For Australian viewers though, it is a less friendly hour to watch this race, as the race starts on Monday the 14th of April, 1 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Saving Time. McLaren will still go into this race as favourites, but can Max push the Papaya Boys to the max? We'll soon find out. And finally, in netball, the Sunshine Coast Lightning will play the Adelaide Thunderbirds. Can the Lightning continue their momentum heading into round 2, or will the Thunderbirds prove too classy over the Sunshine Coast Lightning? That game is Sunday the 13th of April, 2 p.m. on the Sunshine Coast. And with that, we have come to the end of today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will catch you on the next play. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Sports Playbook. If you enjoyed this week's episode, please subscribe to the Sports Playbook wherever you get your podcast and share it with a friend who also might find it enjoyable. Thank you.